go from there. So good morning. Apologies for the few little IT issues this morning. I'd like to welcome Hiscox today. They're going to do a presentation on medical malpractice, and so we've got a number of people from Hiscox today. Lewis, hopefully you can start.
Sure.
If that's all right.
Let's just check I've got control of things.
Hopefully you have.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't, so you might have to move it on, Julie.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Have you not? It says you have.
Okay, it's not working like it was earlier on, Julie.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll move it along.
Yeah. So. Good. Okay. Yeah. Let's get going. Yeah. So thanks very much, Julie, for arranging this and for hosting it. Hopefully we'll be able to get through the slide deck today without too many problems. And thanks everybody on the call for attending. Thanks for spending your time coming to listen to this. I hope it's going to be an informative, educational talk about medical malpractice insurance, about cover, about claims, about risks. We're going to keep the sales pitch bit to the very minimum towards the end, but we'll try and talk a little bit about why we believe Hiscox is a good partner for you guys for medical malpractice business. Bit about me. I'm a senior development underwriter here at Hiscox. I've been here 5 years. I'm responsible for all the open market new business that we do at Hiscox, retail, on medical malpractice and combined commercial combined underwriter, as well as we all are here. I'm going to be ably assisted today by my colleagues Rebecca Kelker and Emma Percival. They're both development underwriters here on the team, and will be the main contacts for you going forward for any healthcare related business. Julie, do you want to put the content up for us? Okay, so this is the running order. We're going to talk about who needs medical malpractice. So to help you identify a client that needs medical malpractice, not always obvious. We're going to talk about what medical malpractice generally covers, not just Hiscox, but what you would generally expect to see other markets covering as well. We'll talk a bit about some of the juicy medical malpractice risks that we see and some of the interesting claims examples that we have. And then at the end, we'll talk a bit about why Hiscox is a good partner for medical malpractice cover. I think, Julie, we're going to do questions at the end, aren't we? So if you want to file into the chat box as we go, and we'll address them at the end. Kind of the first slide, please, Julie. The next slide. There we go. Okay, right. So who needs medical malpractice insurance? So medical malpractice insurance is professional negligence cover for medical professionals. So in similar way that professional indemnity cover would cover, say, an accountant for mistakes made in the service they provide, medical malpractice insurance is professional negligence cover, which provides cover for doctors, dentists, paramedics, etc., if they are sued by their patients for failing to resolve their medical conditions. Okay, so that's what medical malpractice insurance is and who needs it. Just to be clear, what medical malpractice insurance isn't is private medical cover. So some of you might have a dental plan, for example, where you pay an amount of money every month, and if something goes wrong with your teeth, the insurance will kick in and pay the bill for that treatment. That's not what we're talking about here. Something else to mention at this stage is we are insuring private medical businesses here. The NHS, wonderful organisation that is all insured by various state-backed insurance schemes. So for the most part, that is the way the insurance is arranged. The NHS certainly gets clinical negligence claims made against it to the tune of about £2 billion a year, if you can believe that. But they're all insured by the state. So it's medical malpractice insurance for private medical businesses, and in case the medical professionals or businesses are sued by their patients. Okay, thanks, Julie. Can we have the next slide, please? Here we go. Okay, there are a few grey areas to what I've just described. Now, there are a number of businesses and professionals that provide treatment cover, or sorry, they provide treatments. They're not necessarily medical professionals who are doing it. So at Hiscox, we have a separate product called Treatment and Professional Liability, which caters for this need. So it's things like you can see on the slide, so hairdressers, beauticians, complementary therapists, yoga instructors, that kind of stuff. Okay. Next slide, please, Julie. Right, okay, so what does medical malpractice insurance cover? So this is our malpractice definition. There are other definitions in the market, but they're all similar in terms of the main components. So a medical malpractice claim is any bodily injury, mental injury, illness, disease, or death of a patient caused by negligent act, error, or omission. So it's this professional negligence cover for medical professionals. So injury, illness, disease, or death caused by negligence to a patient. We also cover, or most insurance covers, sorry, all actually medical malpractice cover will include Samaritan acts. So the Good Samaritan, if you remember your Bible, it was Good Samaritan was somebody who helped a stranger who was sick and injured on the side of the road. And it's exactly what this is as well. So a medical professional who is off duty has a professional obligation to intervene if they see somebody who is injured or sick while they're off duty. And what the cover does here is if they were to go and help that person in that situation and that person accused them of negligence, then they could go to their employers or their personal medical malpractice insurance, and that claim be covered. So that's a Samaritan Act. So that's the main part of the cover. We're going to intersperse the presentation today with a few interesting claims examples. So my colleague Emma is going to tell us about the pitfalls of laser tattoo removal.
Thanks, Lewis. Okay, so yeah, so this is just an example of, this isn't the actual claim example that I'm going to talk about today, but this is just evidence of what could likely go wrong. So a particular claim we had was where a lady had a dream catcher tattooed all down her side. It was fairly big. Had it done when she was younger, and has now had come to regret it. Didn't like it. It was quite big, and just didn't feel comfortable in revealing clothes. So she went to have it lasered. So the laser process works in that the light from the laser heats up the pigment in the tattoo, and then the heat shatters the ink, and it breaks down within the body, and then eventually it'll come out through your lymphatic system. So she had a few sessions because it was quite a big one. Usual side effects are blistering, it's uncomfortable, it will scab. I mean, that is good signs that it is healing. The immune system is healing. But in this case, the lady was actually left with scarring in the shape of the actual tattoo that she was trying to get removed. The negligence was that the practitioner doing it didn't perform a patch test on the client prior to the treatment. So actually the machine strength was too strong for this particular client's skin type. So yeah, she ended up with, the tattoo had disappeared, but then she was left with this horrific scar. So the claim was for obviously pain. It was very painful during the healing process. She's now left disfigured, and the psychological distress and anguish of now being left with this disfigurement. So In this case, it was about £130,000 paid out to the client. So yeah, the importance really of making sure you're testing first of all, and bless her. That's that one.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, it's an interesting claim that was. Very unfortunate for the young lady involved. It's good that she managed to get compensation for that injury. I think there are ways to tackle scarring medically, so hopefully she was able to pursue those. I'm going to talk now a bit about the cover features that you would typically see from a medical malpractice policy. Obviously, different markets have different extras, but these are the core components that you would typically see. So medical malpractice insurance, like professional indemnity insurance, is written by and large on a claims made basis, and that will have an aggregate limit with costs inclusive attaching to that as well. Patient confidentiality is something that's incredibly important in the medical game. We see claims for things like doctors, receptionists talking about the patients that they see in the community and that information getting back to the patient. We see things like left packets of medical documents on trains and that kind of thing. Obviously, a lot of medical malpractice, medical conditions can be quite embarrassing. Think about the embarrassing body show, for example, that kind of thing. If the doctors lost those details, or it was revealed to your nearest and dearest that you had certain conditions, you might not be very happy. So there's cover usually for those types of claims. The next one is extended notification periods. As we've got a claims made basis of cover, doctors are quite keen to see that if they retire or they were to die or become disabled or stop working for some reason, that claims could still be brought after that period. It's not unusual for treatments that are performed in 1 year might seem okay for a while, and then the fix that's been put in to, say, a broken ankle, for example, or a repaired tooth goes wrong many years into the future, and the negligence isn't revealed until that stage, and the claim doesn't arise until that stage. So extended notification periods are very important. The next one is coroner's inquests. So unfortunately, not everybody can be saved. And we see this a lot with paramedics, for example, and ambulances. If somebody can't be saved and they die on the way to hospital or shortly after, and there's a coroner's inquest, then the ambulance staff were involved very close to the demise of that person. So they can be called quite frequently to be a witness, or sometimes to be a person that might be accused later on in a negligence claim. So they need legal representation in an inquest. So it's quite important that cover is in place for medical professionals. The last one on the slide here is regulatory investigations and fitness to practice. The medical industry is very heavily regulated, as you would hope and expect in this country. So it's not unusual for a medical business or a medical professional to have a complaint made against them to the regulator, and then they would then need legal representation to see themselves through that and not unnecessarily incriminate themselves. They could easily face those investigations without there necessarily being a negligence claim also. So having that as a separate plank of the cover is very important. Okay, come the next slide, please, Julie. These are some of the notable exclusions that you'll see in the market. Number one is abuse and molestation. Some insurers will include a small limit for abuse and molestation linked to or happening in the course of medical treatment. At Hiscox, we provide abuse cover as part of the PL section with a wider cover, wider limit and a wider definition. But that is something that is a pretty big risk for most medical professionals. Somebody undergoing medical treatment is considered a vulnerable adult. So there's an abuse exposure. So it's important cover to try and arrange, even if it's excluded under Med-Mal, to get it under PL where you can. Products liability is something that's sort of intrinsically linked to medical services. Think about if anyone you know has had a leg break, for example, there'll be a load of pins and a bar that maybe goes into your leg to support it. If that product fails, then you could potentially end up with an injury, personal injury, that would be linked to the medical care that had been provided. So it's important to have products liability cover in the wording. What you would typically see, though, is the medical malpractice insurers will expect to pass the claim back to the manufacturer if it is the defective product that's caused the issue. Third one we've got is an excess. If you're used to placing a lot of employers and public liability business, you won't generally see an excess attaching to a bodily injury type claim. In medical malpractice world, it is typical to have excesses in the policy. At Hiscox, we have excesses from £500 to about £2,500 as standard, depending on the level of risk and the claims pattern you could expect from that particular practitioner. For a bigger clinic or something like a plastic surgeon or a orthopedic surgeon, someone who fixes your bones when they break, you might see an excess of £10,000 or £20,000 against that cover. Something else that you'll see very often in the medical malpractice policies is the MDO clause, and this is the Medical Defence Organisation clause, as it's usually known. And this goes as follows. So in the medical malpractice world, it is very standard for a high-ranking medical professional, like a doctor or a surgeon or a hospital consultant, to have personal malpractice cover. And that's even if they work in the NHS mostly. They'll have private patients that they see, they'll be consultants for other businesses, and they move around quite a bit. So it's standard practice for high-ranking medical professionals to have their own cover. So consequently, it is then standard practice for most medical malpractice policies to have a condition that says that your high-ranking medical professionals must maintain their own personal cover. And an allowance in the premium is made because of the fact that a lot of those claims that those medical professionals produce will go against their personal insurance and not against the business insurance. At Hiscox, we regularly write out the MDO clause for a premium where the individual hasn't got personal cover, and that's something usually done as a buyback, and that's the way the market normally treats that. Okay, so those are the notable exclusions and obligations that you will see in the market. Rebecca is going to talk to you about the highest risk medical professions, the juicy stuff. You there, Rebecca?
Hi guys. So these are some of the highest risk professions that you see in medical malpractice. And basically, I want to know which of these professions produces the largest amount of claims and value. I can take you through some of the little bits. So you know what A&E is. Everybody goes to see a GP, someone, a surgeon, and then you've got obstetrics, which is field of medicine, or basically that is in childbirth. So what do you guys think? I want to put your not to the and if you want to put it in the chat. So which of these professions produces the largest claims in value?
I'd say GPs.
Okay, cool. A lot of GPs coming in.
Anybody else?
Mixed bag, actually.
Hold on.
That.
GPs. Oh no. If you look at the chat, guys, we can see the chat.
100 surgeons, 100%. 100%.
A lot of different answers here. This is good.
Yeah.
Very different answers. This is amazing. Oh my gosh, they're still coming in. Okay. Basically, everyone said all of them. The actual answer is obstetrics. So what can go wrong here is it's basically patients that may receive an unacceptable standard of care. So sadly, it doesn't go wrong often with these things. So and when it does, it can be very, very expensive. So claims examples, for instance, could be something like damage to the mother's organs during a cesarean section, and then some, you know, baby could be at harm as well, and that could be something like fracturing the baby's bones during childbirth, or the baby could be starved of oxygen at some point during the birthing process, and then that can cause conditions such as like cerebral palsy. So yeah, it doesn't happen often, and when it does, it's very expensive. The NHS actually pay out about 2 billion worth of claims a year, and about half of these are actually obstetrics claims. So yeah, very, very high value, unfortunately, but it's very sad. Another question for you guys, if you want to continue like chatting or put it in the chat, whatever you prefer. So which of these professions produces the highest number of claims compared to any other NHS department?
GPs, A&E coming up quite a lot.
Our GPs.
I love it. Mixed bag, isn't it? Got some right answers in here already, which is fabulous. So yeah, the answer is actually A&E, and it's just because they're all emergency patients, and then what the medical professionals have to do a very quick assessment. They diagnose, and you know, the patient has to receive like top care. What happens is these decisions are rushed usually, and they're in a very time pressured environment, with patients suffering from can be actually life-threatening conditions. So they are actually more likely to make mistakes. But yeah, good answers, guys. I love it. Going to hand over to Emma with this dentistry claim.
Another claim, claim heavy. Yeah, so not a very nice picture to look at here. This guy, bless him, similar again, not the exact picture of the actual claim. A guy went to his dentist looking for crowns to be fitted onto his existing teeth because he was due to get married, and he wasn't happy with the cosmetic appearance of his teeth, and he wanted to have them all aligned and straightened and looking good for the wedding. So paid several £1,000s to get his perfect smile, all initially okay, and then the crowns just started falling out. So then he was left with that little peg or stump of his own natural teeth just weeks before his wedding. So that's caused a lot of distress, panic, also in pain with eating, until he could get the issue fixed. The problem with crowns is it's not an immediate quick fix. Either you'd need to have go to a dentist, have molds made of your teeth, then they'd need to go to the lab and be made, then you'd need to have them obviously fitted. So in this case, it was found that the dentist was negligent, just due to the actual fitting. They weren't cemented and cured in properly, which led to them just falling out. So yeah, in this case, the client lost trust in his current dentist, didn't want to go back and have them fixed, lost trust, so found somebody else that could do it for him, and obviously then made a claim against us for further treatment costs. Yeah, so the claim for this was about £56,000. Yeah.
Yeah, big one. Expensive. Yeah. Those dentists having a laugh, aren't they? A lot of them. My dentist is outrageous. The bills they try and put on you for teeth replacements and stuff like that. So cool. Thanks, Emma.
Yeah.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, right, I'm going to talk to you guys a bit about the capabilities and unique selling points we have at Hiscox. I did have a list of these, but I thought it was a bit boring to go through, so I'll try to put it into a pictorial form with some numbers. Now the game is remembering what the numbers mean, so let's see how we get on. So number 16 at the top. So this relates to Hiscox's probably key capability and unique selling point versus other medical malpractice insurers. 16 is the number of other cover sections we can add to the same policy for you. So we can, as well as medical malpractice, we're cross-class underwriters, so we can add professional indemnity, employees liability, public liability, buildings, contents, portable medical equipment, management liability, cyber, legal expenses, etc., etc. So a real one-stop shop for medical malpractice or for healthcare businesses. A lot of our competitors are monoline, or they can't do certain lines of cover. So this is probably our main strength. Let's go clockwise. So 0%. That's not your commission, Julie. This one, the amount of interest we are charging to do direct debits direct to Hiscox. It's normally quite a popular one. This, we'll take the billing directly to us for no charge. Third one along is 10 million. 10 million is the maximum line size we can write for medical malpractice. We don't do follow lines. People do follow us. That's fine. 10 million is the most we can write. And again, as before, it's an aggregate limit, as most medical malpractice policies are. £500 is a minimum premium. Often there's a misconception that medical malpractice insurance is ruinously expensive. It's not necessarily, depending on what you do. We start from about £500 package policy premium, I would add. This one is your commission. 22.5 is the current level of commission that Hiscox gives to Movo. We follow the commission structure the rest of the Hiscox has agreed with Movo. The average medical malpractice commission in the market is usually 20% for a medical malpractice insurer. We're typically a bit higher than that because of the extra cover lines that we write, and then the professional indemnity business we do, and the high net worth business we do, and other things that we can do for you as Movo. 12 is the number of underwriters we have. We've tried to go for a real service model at Hiscox, so we prefer to be on the phone discussing risks, doing deals and trading with you that way, building the relationships. We don't have an online system. There are other ones out there in the market which are very good. But Hiscox, we've just decided to go down the personal service route, put enough bums on seats to get them to answer the phones and trade with you that way. And number 6 is the number of qualified solicitors that we have in our own claims team. So we recruit people from the law firms to come in and handle the claims ourselves, and then if necessary, where we need the expertise, we can access Kennedy's, BLM, Clyde & Co, etc., to assist with the client's claim. So those are our main USPs. This is just them in list form. So Julie, in case you want to read them, we just run through these to the end. Something else I'll mention while we're running through these is probably the brand recognition. So compared to the other medical malpractice markets, Hiscox brand is usually a bit more well known than the others. Obviously, there are other fantastic medical malpractice insurers in this country, but Hiscox brand, for historic reasons, usually stands out a bit better when you present 2 different quotes, or when a rival broker has presented a different quote. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Move on, please, Julie. Okay, Rebecca, we're back to you to talk a little bit about our core appetite.
Amazing, thank you, Lou. These are our core underwriting appetite areas which we would love to insure. We do write risk outside of this, but this is what we mostly write, or we have the most of. So I'll just touch on a few of these because I won't bore you to death. We've got bespoke products for quite a lot of these, so we've got aesthetics, ambulance, dental, miscellaneous medications, treatments and professional liabilities, which is the beauty and complementary therapy, talking therapy will fall under. Oh, sorry, do I see Rebecca echoing?
Rebecca, your sound's gone a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Not very well. Lewis, would it be better for you to talk through this?
Yeah, I'll just talk a bit. Sorry, Beth.
Sorry, sorry.
I'm not sure it was just me who could hear it or not. So thanks for piping up, everybody. Right, so yeah, sorry. So these are our core appetite segments. So historically, these are just the areas of the medical malpractice world that we've written the most of and form the biggest portions of our existing book. So consequently, we've got bespoke products for these sectors. So we've got a standard medical malpractice wording that we can use for everybody, but each of these has got its own wording that's tailored for that sector. So the aesthetic sector, we are by far the market leader in this. So these are your high street beauty clinics, where it's a bit more medical than a beauty salon. Okay, so all the lip fillers and stuff like that you see. I think Love Island started again this week. I don't know if anyone's a fan of that. There'll be a lot of lip fillers and cosmetic surgery going on amongst that lot. So we've been sponsoring that from an insurance perspective for a number of years now. Private ambulances, we about £2 million GWP private ambulances with a leading market leader in the UK on that stuff. These are not 999 ambulances generally. That's an NHS core activity that they hold on to. This is the bits that have been privatised, effectively the patient transportation, taxi stuff, and then turning up at music festivals to provide first aid tents, that kind of thing. That's mostly in private or charitable hands. Something else we'll touch on. So I think you guys have got some sort of beauty and complementary therapy existing books of business in various places in Movo. I talked earlier about this being something we insure with a treatment and professional liability approach. Usually, we do have a product for it. We've got about 6 existing schemes and sort of millions of pounds worth of this business. So we're a big fan of that. But those are the things that are mostly on appetite. What I would say is we will have a look at the majority of medical malpractice risks, other than the ones that were in Rebecca's quiz. So we won't write an obstetrician or an A&E department. Also GPs and surgeons. A lot of you were saying that GPs were the highest risk. They're not far behind, nor are surgeons. They're producing pretty big claims, some pretty frequent claims, and some pretty long tail and complex claims. So that's the real sort of heavy end. So we steer clear of that for the time being. Okay, I think we can go to the next slide. Rebecca, do you want to see if you're sounding a bit better?
Hear me?
No. No, it's still bubbly, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
I'll take it. I'll do this one, Becca. So this is a slide that shows the core strength that we have, the package policies. So these are all the different cover sections that we can add to a medical malpractice policy. So it makes it a nice one-stop shop, saves you time on renewals, especially on an SME type case, which I know is the more painful to be going around to 3 or 4 different insurers trying to put together a package when we can do all that for you on one policy. Okay, next slide, please, Julie. Okay, running nicely to time here. This is the last slide I've got before questions, so we've played it pretty well. This is our lovely medical malpractice team. Like I said before, we've gone for a service approach. We want to build relationships with you. We want to be on the phone talking about risks and trading. So this is the group of underwriters that we have. Principally, Rebecca and Emma will be doing the majority of your new business quotes, along with myself. But anybody in the team is perfectly capable and able to pick up the phone and deal with you and help you along. I'll be sharing this afterwards, so you'll have a slide there with access to all our phone numbers and emails, so you know who we are. Great. Okay, I think we're going to move to questions then. Julie, do you want to kill the presentation, and we'll see if anyone wants to either put in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and talk, that's absolutely fine as well.
Don't be scared. They won't bite. We might have had a few IT issues this morning, but nobody will bite.
I have one, Julie. I just wanted to check, is the policy on an occurrence basis or a claims made basis?
It's a good question, John. So typically the policy in medical malpractice is on a claims made basis. That is the way we write policies as well, on a claims basis. Yeah, there's a few examples in the market of schemes where they've gone to occurrence basis, but it's pretty slender on that front.
And then do you have a standard proposal form you use? I mean, one of the ones I use is just an online one that's being changed to have all mine and that on as well, which makes it easier.
We do, yep. So we've got proposal forms on our Hiscox Broker Centre online. After this, I'll send over the slides with the standard proposal forms, some standard wordings and some marketing literature, so you've got it all in one place to save on your emails for later use.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Any other questions from anyone?
Hi, it's Chris. I've just got an inquiry actually the other day for somebody who's setting up a sports clinic in which they bring in medical people in to treat various sports people, sports injuries. Would that be something you'd be interested in? I know that the doctors and the nurses apparently have got their own PI cover in place, or medical malpractice in place, and cover the surgery as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that'd be something we'd be interested in. We'd probably try and stay away from Premiership footballers or Lewis Hamilton or anyone like that, if that's okay. Anthony Joshua. But outside of those sort of mega earning professional sports people, a sports clinic is a nice risk for us, definitely.
Okay, I'll send it over. I suppose all the clubs have their own physios and everything anyway.
I think they do, yeah, and I think it's traditionally been pretty difficult to arrange medical malpractice insurance for treating someone like a professional footballer. So the clubs have got arrangements and personal accident policies and that kind of thing to kind of ease that problem and find people to actually treat their stars. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll send it over probably tomorrow when I got all the details I need. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for the question.
Any more questions at all, guys?
It's obviously a good show of how well the session was taught. There's no more questions. Everyone knows everything at the end of it, that sounds good.
I've got one actually, which actually crosses into your world a little bit, Jordan, but like mountain rescue and people like that, technically they should have a medical malpractice policy, surely. Is there lots of trades like that people wouldn't think that they needed medical malpractice?
So yeah, mountain rescue is a great example, actually, Julie. Yeah, so you're right. If you are going up to the top of a mountain to rescue somebody, when you get there, I mean, my understanding typically is someone goes missing around about 4 o'clock before it starts to get dark on top of the mountain. By the time they get there, the wind is 100 miles an hour. There's snow blowing all over them. Hypothermia is setting in. They probably twisted their ankle or something like that. That's why they can't get down. But yeah, you're right.
Your call is important to us. Please stay on the line. We'll be with you as soon as possible.
You mean it's one of the Glamorgan ones? See the number.
Oh, well done.
Is that gone? Sorry about that. God,
No
we're
worries,
having so
no
many IT problems today. I can't believe it.
We made it through, though. We made it through.
Yes, so that is a typical example. So
yeah, it's a good example. Yeah, mountain rescue, because when you find that person, they are going to be in need of first aid, and they're going to have a medical problem that needs resolving. In my experience, if you've been rescued from that situation, you're a bit less likely to then try and sue the rescuers for negligence. Although if you're injured badly enough, people will sue because they just need the money because their livelihood is gone up in smoke. So yeah, it's a good example. For some other examples, we often get asked like gyms, spas, social workers. There's some other things where it's kind of healthcare related, but not necessarily medical. But that's why we have that other product, treatment and professional liability, which caters for those types of professionals.
okay, I'm just replying to Ross.
We also have a question from Raspberry.
Yeah, our vets within your appetite?
The vets is a good question. So we don't actually have a product for vets. Vets are considered more of a PI risk. The difference being really, without going into it too much, in law, in terms of a legal liability claim, an animal, the value of an animal is its replacement cost to the owner. So it's kind of like a property damage type, third-party property damage type issue. Animals can't sue for pain and suffering and loss of earnings and that kind of thing. So there are markets for vets with a PI wording. We don't have one, so we don't target vets.
Okay. Any more questions at all?
And for myself,
I think while we're waiting for a couple more questions, Jude, I think yesterday we were talking about care, weren't we?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
There's a lot of care business out there. Hiscox did used to write care homes in a big way 5, 6, 7 years ago. We had various books of residential care homes and nursing homes, etc. Hiscox pulled out of that around that time. The medical malpractice team did retain the ability to write care risks for med-mal only, but most of the time when you're doing a residential care home, they want the EL and PL and all that packaged in, and we can't bring our main strength to the table on those risks. Then the pandemic hit. Care homes were having lots of trouble with coronavirus outbreaks, etc. So we did support our existing care customers and provided them with coronavirus cover, and didn't remove their cover during that period. But we had to stop writing new business at the time. You might have seen this in different markets, be a bit more reticent about care risks over the last few years. I think 2023 will hopefully be the period we go back into the care market. But for the time being, domiciliary care, residential care homes, nursing homes are off the menu, Hiscox, unfortunately.
Okay, any more questions? Right. If there's no more questions, I will share the presentation. Ross has asked, he's got some inquiries, so he wants to sort of send them over. So I'll share the presentation that you've kindly shared with me this morning, Lewis, and with everybody today. I'll just send it straight out on an email to everybody, so they've got it. I presume you've got one with notes on as well, so which maybe you could share with me and I can upload that to Buddy.
There's one with some useful notes on it, for later.
If you don't mind sharing that as well, that'd be quite useful.
Yeah, that's okay.
Hello, sorry, before you go, apologies.
Yep.
Just, I missed the your answer to one of my colleagues asking about a form of what I'm trying to say, a risk information form. I can't get my words out. I'm so sorry. I've been honestly on the phone all morning up until this Zoom meeting, and then I've had to catch up with loads of stuff. So apologies.
No
yes,
problem.
I'm looking for a form that we would need to send out to clients.
Fine, yeah. So they're on our Hiscox Broker Centre. If you haven't been able to locate it, that's fine. I'll send them an email around after this with a link to that, but with the form attached to the email as well, so you can sort of save it and use it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Lewis, if you want to send that to me, I'll put that link in with the presentation. That might be the best idea.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, Julie, if you want to forward it to everybody.
And then I'll just send it and copy you in. Wonderful.
Excellent.
Excellent. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for your patience this morning. We had a few IT issues, as we all know. I think, but we got there in the end. So, but thank you so much, Hiscox, for coming on and doing this. And, you know, please send your med-mal stuff across.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.